the Employee Retirement Association Board of Directors into session. And first thing on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
States
and
of
to the
America,
republic
and to the
that
republic
stands
for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible.
liberty and justice. All right, thanks. Uh, First item on our agenda is discussion and action, possible action regarding Resolution 2021-06, authorizing teleconference meetings pursuant to Government Code 54953 in compliance with Assembly Bill 361. This allows us to continue meeting under teleconferencing due to the pandemic. Does anyone have a question, or would someone like to make a motion?
So if I may, through the chair, we usually do a roll call vote at the start.
Okay, go ahead.
Guess I'll take roll. Ms. Shatmeyer is absent by prior arrangement. Ms. Forrester?
Here.
Ms. Cavanis?
Here.
Mr. Jurdy?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Cromer?
Here.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Here.
Ms. Harris?
Here.
And Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. I think one of the first things we need to do with the agenda is to recognize the pandemic and the situation and allow us to meet with teleconference technology. Does anyone have a question? Would someone like to make a motion?
Chair, I do have a question.
Okay.
It may be a legal question, but at the end of the day, what I read was that we have to declare this emergency, or somebody has to declare the local emergency on a monthly basis. And it seems that there was one declared on September 29th that would be within that scope. My main question is we have to revisit this monthly, or would it be, I see Jeff nodding his head that we would have to accept this monthly after each declaration of a local emergency.
Yes, so we'll have this as a standing item on each agenda, and it'll be the first item like it is today, so long as the health officer continues to recommend consistent with that recommendation, and which satisfies the requirements in the new legislation.
Jeff and Quincy, just to confirm my understanding, it does not require the health order issue a new order as long as his remains in effect. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We just need to continue to make those findings and adopt the resolution that I'm anticipating that you'll be adopting in a moment here.
Thank you.
I will certainly move to adopt that resolution.
Second.
Okay. Judy, do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
I see no public comment at this time.
Okay. Can we have roll call?
Yes. Ms. Forster?
Yes.
Ms. Cavanis?
Yes.
Mr. Jurdy?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Cromer?
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Aye.
Ms. Harris?
Aye.
Ms. Harris?
Aye.
Oh, thank you. Approved. Sorry, I didn't hear you there.
Okay, thanks. Do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on items that are not on today's agenda?
There does not appear to be any public comment at this time.
Thanks. All right, well, that takes us to the consent calendar, minutes of September 18th, September 21, 2021, retirement report, preliminary monthly financial report, and quarterly trustee education and training report. Are there any items that members would like to discuss separately, or are there any items that members of the public would like to discuss?
And there's no public comment on this item.
Okay. If there are no items board members would like to discuss, we'll accept the consent calendar as presented. Okay, then on to this item number 4, which is discussion regarding the historical benefit review project status report. Regarding failure numbers 4 and 7, the MCR continues to review member inquiries and will report to the board publicly on next steps prior to taking further action as to members impacted by those items. Doris or Jeff, would you like to add anything?
I would like to just cover a couple of things on this month's report. There are 19 cases listed as being corrected in this month. 16 of those 19 are actually retroactive benefit payments of people who received a partial correction earlier. You can cross-reference those by the earlier case number. They don't have an error number marked next to them because I didn't want to duplicate count an error that we had already counted before. We are making progress with interest on inactive accounts, and we hope to have the first batch of 150 to 200 processed next month as far as the interest corrections, and we'll be sending notices and statements to those folks once the correction has posted. In addition, there was an additional report at the end of the PDF report. This was in response to your question, Chair Jurdy, regarding the membership who was affected by purchase errors 4 and 7. So there are tables there that break it down by account status, by bargaining unit, and by department. That wraps up my comments on that. Regarding errors 4 and 7, as you stated, we continue to look into the members' inquiries regarding that, and we'll come back to the board and make public the planned next steps before any action is taken.
Okay, any board member questions or comments? Director Smith? Your audio.
Sorry, guys. I would just like to confirm that the table at the very end that lists the 4 and 7, that's just a summary of items that are already in the big 36-page table with check marks under the 4 and 7. Is that correct?
These are individuals who are in the correction pool. They've been in the list of accounts to correct since the beginning. They are not specifically listed in that 36-page report because they have not yet been corrected, and that report only reflects the accounts that are being corrected that month or have been corrected in prior months. So this was just a summary of those individuals affected by these 2 errors that are pending correction. No action has been taken.
Okay, so they will end up on that report after we've taken action.
Yes, at some point we'll have resolved the issues and they will be reflected on the monthly report.
Okay, thank you.
Director Forrester?
I just wanted to make sure these 62 that we have listed here, if they're in, say, number 4 and number 7, those are not necessarily different people. In other words, we have 62, 6, and 37. We really have a total of 62. Is that correct? And they're affected at multiple levels, or are those different people?
There are a couple of people who do have both errors or more than one error. The combined total is right around 69 or 70, maybe 68. I don't recall, because we did have a couple that upon further review, we realized didn't actually have one of those issues. But yes, it could indicate some duplicate counts. Those truly affected by 4 and 7, though, does appear to be right around 68 people total.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
I see no public comment at this time.
Okay, well then it takes us to item number 5, which is discussion and action on appeal of correction notice by Beverly Rutler, retired member.
Chair Judy, I believe we start with a statement from the member. Judy, is Ms. Rutler ready to make her statement?
Okay, we should be seeing her momentarily.
Welcome, Ms. Rutler. You're welcome to make your statement to the board regarding your appeal.
Well, after reading the letter that you wrote regarding the appeal, what it's about for me, I think that pretty well sums it up. I feel that I have been mistreated from the very beginning. It's really, really sad. I wanted to say this to the board last time when my appeal was denied. It's really sad that my husband at 80 and me at just about to turn 77 are having to deal with this because of the county's disgusting error. I know, Doris, that you are not involved in that and you've just been someone hired. I do not have any animosity to you whatsoever. You're just doing your job that you've been hired to do. But I would really like this to be considered. You have no idea, and maybe it seems like a pittance to you guys and how much they changed my retirement. But it's big at this stage of the game, especially in the way the country is right now. Cost of living has gone up. It's made the amount right now that they take out of my check would pay our property tax for the year. And so it's been very difficult. And I would really would like you guys to consider that I wasn't given opportunity. I even still feel bad about not being given the opportunity or told I needed to buy back the time after my workers' comp settled. But I do understand what Doris has explained to me. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think she pretty well summed it up. There's not much more I can say, except this has been a very sad, sad time for everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Rutler. Chair Judy, if you're ready to proceed, I'll have a brief statement to make.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. There is a memo included in your packets that provides the background. As previously stated, Ms. Rutler's benefit was corrected due to an error in service where her leave without pay had not been deducted from her service total when her benefit was originally calculated. During review and discussions with Mrs. Rutler, she indicates that she was never informed of the ability to purchase the qualifying leave without pay, which would have been the 1992 to 1993 period, and is asking the board to provide equitable remedy and allowing her to purchase that service now, even though she's obviously already retired, because she wasn't provided the opportunity to do so prior to her retirement. While we can't pay an incorrect benefit, the board may choose to exercise its authority to provide equitable remedy and reasonable and appropriate correctness. So it's being asked that the board consider allowing her an opportunity to purchase the one period of leave without pay that fell in 1992 to early 93 as a resolution to her appeal. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. I think Jeff has a comment.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Rutler, I'm Jeff Burke. I'm the attorney for the Mendocino Retirement Association. And I just wanted to explain to you and remind our trustees of the process. So You have an opportunity to make your statement, and then the executive director refers. The trustees now have an opportunity to ask any questions they have. And then we're going to move into closed session and discuss the issue, and then come back and report back to you whether we have a decision or some further questions or something like that. So I just wanted to let you know what the process is.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Butler? Okay, not seeing any. Ms. Butler, did you conclude your comments?
Well, I just want to, another thing I want to say is it's really, really sad that this all happened. And, you know, I've talked to people that were doing the figuring at the time I retired. And I mean, there is real question as to they were just doing their job the way they were told to do it. And I really and truly have never understood through this whole thing how this all changed. I really don't. And not just for me, but for other people that are suffering through all of this at a time in our life when it's really, really hard and difficult to do. I just would like this. I feel like it's not even so much the money anymore to me. It's the principle of the thing. This whole thing sucked, to be really honest with you. And I'm just a cynical old woman, but it really, really sucks that we would have to deal with that now at this point in our life. That's all I've got to say.
Okay. Director Shoemaker.
I just want to say to Ms. Rutler, I wholeheartedly agree with your statements. You know, we've been dealing with the legal and financial aspects of this for the board in attempting to deal with it for the retirees. And I know the outcomes have not been what folks would like, but some of us would like, that's for sure. The request that you've got in on the opportunity to buy that time, that is the request you have at this point, and as far as you're concerned, that will not fully satisfy your issues here, but will help take care of it. Ms. Rutler, that's the question, that request to the opportunity to buy the time, that's your request, is that correct?
That's it. I think I mean, I bought over 6 years time back and paid for it. So I would have done it at the time. It's just so difficult to think that I would have to do that now, spend the money now to do it at this time in my life. I just don't think it's right. I just want you all to know that. And it's a crying shame. And I'm sure other people have suffered worse than I have. And we're all getting up there in age that retired a long time ago. So that's all I have to say. I understand what you just said.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, the board will go into closed session.
Give me a few minutes to prepare our meeting for that. Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay, thank you through the chair. So the board met in closed session and is prepared to make the following decision and through motion, and I'll read it. Given the unique facts of this case and for equitable consideration, the board grants appellant's request to purchase time that would have been allowed under the SERL for the 1992-1993 time period upon terms acceptable to both Ms. Rutler and the executive director.
I would make that motion.
I would second it.
Okay. Judy, can we have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Forrester,
Yes.
Ms. Cavanagh,
Yes.
Mr. Jurdy,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Cromer,
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker,
Aye.
Ms. Harris,
Aye.
approved.
All right, well, that takes us to item number 6, which is discussion and possible action regarding investment matters. And we have our monthly performance report.
Trustees, before you, you've got the monthly investment report for September. Just wanted to ask if there was any questions or any comments on it. Seeing none, one thing I do want to point out is that the building value has changed. Some of you may have noticed that. We recently got our real estate valuation, and the appraised value came in at 1.75 million. So that was the reason for that change.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Do we have any public comment on the item number 6, monthly investment report?
There's no public comment.
All right, well, then go to number 7, budget updates, final fiscal year 2021 budget update.
Trustees, you have before you the year-end final report. I kind of laid everything out there in the memo, and I just wonder if you had any additional questions.
Not seeing any. Robert, do you want to go to first quarter 2022 budget update?
Sure. You also have the first quarter budget update. I guess in terms of the real quick overview for that, the biggest reasons they're being under budget would be personnel. We haven't actually hired the extra position just yet, although we do have plans to fill that position hopefully in the next few months here. But that's a significant savings. We also haven't had all of the legal billings just yet go through the system, so that's another large bit of savings there. And of course, we also don't have any of the disability and hearings billings yet as well. So that's the other large portion of the savings for the quarter versus the budget.
Okay. Not seeing any questions from board members. Do we have any comments or questions from members of the public?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay, well, thank you, Robert, for the updates. Looks like that takes us to item number 8, discussion possible action regarding recommendation to the Board of Supervisors requesting adoption of section 31458.4 of the County Employee Retirement Law.
Thank you, Chair Judy, members of the board. Section 31458.4 is an optional section of the serial that simply permits an alternate payee who is receiving benefit payments from the system because they're an ex-spouse of a member, gives them the right to name a beneficiary to receive any payments due them in the event of their death. Absent adoption of this provision, the system is required to pay to the estate of the decedent, which just adds additional time and cost and confusion to the process. There are no costs to the system for adopting this. It would just simply, in the low likelihood event that an alternate payee passes and there's continuation of benefits due because the member is still receiving payments, allow us to transition those payments faster to a named beneficiary. So if you have any questions regarding this, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Not seeing any questions, Doris. Do we have any members of the public who wish to comment on this item?
There's no public comment at this time.
I don't think this is technically action. I think it can be direction to staff, but I'll ask Jeff to weigh in on that. If this is something the Board of Retirement would like to pursue, we could prepare an item to go to the Board of Supervisors with a recommendation from the Board of Retirement. I have already spoken to both CEO Angelo and County Counsel Christian Curtis, and they had no objections to this item going to the Board of Supervisors for adoption, by the way.
The process Doris identified is perfectly fine.
Okay, well, I think it's probably preferable to have a paper trail showing that the board recommended this and requested this. And I'm on other boards where they make requests to the Board of Supervisors. So would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
There's nobody here today for some reason.
Okay. Judy, can we have a roll call?
I'm sorry, can I catch the second on that motion?
A.
Jerry, thank you. All right, Ms. Forster,
Yes.
Ms. Cavness,
Yes.
Mr. Dirty,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Cromer,
Aye.
Mr. Shoemaker, Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
and Ms. Harris.
Aye.
Thank you. Approved.
Okay, well, thank you. That takes us to item number 9, the board work plan.
Thank you, Chair Judy, members of the board. The third quarter work plan is in your packets for review. I would like to point out that we did complete the server upgrade for the pension system. We will be scheduling our annual PG Secure Business Continuity Plan backup test with our pension service provider in the coming months. So we have made some progress there. We still have newsletters only being issued quarterly at this point in time, and we have not been doing, as you recall, member surveys due to the additional workload from the project. Are there any questions on anything on the board work plan?
No, I don't have any questions, but I do appreciate the updates. I think they're helpful to keep everyone informed. Do we have any public comments on the work plan?
There are no public comments at this time.
Great, well, thank you. So that takes us to item number 10, which is discussion possible action regarding the direction to MCERA voting delegates regarding the State Association of Counties Retirement System 2021 Fall Business Meeting.
Thank you, Chair Jurdy. The SACRS business meeting materials are included in your packet. Of note are proposed legislations that the SACRS organization plans to sponsor in 2022. This would be providing direction to the voting delegate to vote on these items at the upcoming SACRS business meeting.
Catherine, aren't you normally the voting delegate? Do you have any thoughts on these?
Well, they like issue 1 is basically the Searle cleanup bill. And so I would, my recommendation would be to vote in favor of that. And I would, for all of these, I would be in favor of voting yes on them. I don't know if there are any questions. They're not very contentious. So my recommendation is to vote yes.
The summary list of the proposed legislation items for 2022 starts on page 35 of that item of your packet in case anybody wanted to reference it. They are all relatively minor cleanup items relating to beneficiary, disability, furlough, things of that nature as laid out in the summary starting on page 35.
Chair Jurdy.
Oh, go ahead.
After reading through these items and with Catherine's recommendation, I would ask our voting delegate to vote on these going forward. I would move that, make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment on this item? Director Anderson?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I would just like to say maybe for a future meeting before the spring conference is to maybe consider a blanket authorization for the delegate to vote on items as they deem appropriate based upon the discussion that happens at the business meeting.
Good.
Okay, all right. I don't see Judy in the meeting. I guess I'll conduct the roll. So, let's see. Director Anderson.
Yes.
Director Cabdas.
Do I get to vote on this or should I excuse myself?
You can certainly vote on this.
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Director Cromer.
Aye.
Director Harris.
Aye.
Director Forrester.
Yes.
Director Smith.
Yes.
And Director Jurdy, yes.
Thank you, Dan. I'm sorry, I keep getting booted out of the meeting for some reason.
Judy, I did make note of all those in case you need that after the meeting.
Was it unanimous yes?
Yeah.
It was. Mr.
Thank you.
Anderson voted in place of Mr. Shoemaker.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right, well then I think that takes us to the agenda item 11, administrative report. Or I guess we just did that. Or no, well, it's slightly different. The SACRS legislative update.
The SACRS legislative update is attached to the administrative report. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that we did receive the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for our June 30, 2020 comprehensive annual financial report. MSARA has received the Certificate of Achievement every year that they've submitted their financial report to the governmental finance office. And that was essentially every year since 2011, except for 2013, where it was not submitted. Each year, the GFOA provides a list of comments and recommendations, and I wanted to point out that this year they had no suggestions for improvements for our financial report. And that's just a testament to the work of our staff and our auditors, and I wanted to recognize them for their efforts in that. Additionally, with the 2019 report, the format and was revamped with the help of Nora Morgan in our office to make it more readable and look prettier, and I wanted to acknowledge her significant improvements to the format of the report. Additionally, I wanted to bring to the board's attention efforts of staff. They recently had received a change of direct deposit request that they determined to be fraudulent and notified the member and authorities. We have robust systems in place to review requests to change address and direct deposit information, and it just shows that our processes are working properly. But I wanted to give a shout out to staff for being alert to that. As I mentioned, the legislative update is attached. AB 361, which allows teleconferencing, was signed by the governor, as you're aware, since we're operating under that at this meeting today. Additionally, Senate Bill 634 was signed by the governor. 634 makes some non-controversial clarifying changes to the SACRS. I believe one of them involved, the board's authority to hire a medical authority for consideration and disability applications.
We've done.
And I just wanted to mention that our bylaws were last updated in August of 2013. I was informed that there was a decision to hold that until after the project concluded, and I wanted just to touch base with the board to see if there was any interest in reviewing that and working on a bylaw update in conjunction with the strategic plan.
Okay, and Director of Cabinets.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea, and I totally agree that we should wait until the project has been completed to a reasonable extent where it's not a burden on staff to take this on.
Jeff, it looks like you have your hand raised.
So maybe the executive director will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the SERL currently requires that if you amend the bylaws, that it go to the Board of Supervisors for approval. That's kind of an antiquated requirement. Systems are kind of separate now, and that's actually one of the items that's on the SACRS agenda, to modify the SERL to not have that additional requirement to have to bring it to the Board of Supes. So it would be great, I guess, if the timing worked, that you could avoid that if that's what you wanted to do. So I just mentioned that.
Yeah, Director Harris.
It seems to me that any work we do on the bylaws should come after we have an offsite where we're talking about our goals, our principles, what we want to do in the future, and that we can also take a look at the bylaws at that time.
Okay. Is that enough feedback, Doris?
Yes, thank you. We'll hold off on this item until we see the results of the 2022 legislative session and also have further progress on the project, I think is what I heard. If I'm incorrect on anything, please let me know.
Okay, Judy, do we have any public comment on this agenda item?
No, there's no public comment.
All right, well then I think that takes us to item number 12, discussion possible action regarding agreement with Jeff Burke for legal services.
Thank you, Chair Jurdy. In the past, Jeff has been contracted for services through the city of Santa Rosa, and prior to that through Sonoma County. We started using outside counsel after Mendocino County Council stopped providing representation to MSARA and the MSARA board. Mr. Burke is requesting that MSARA contract directly with him. And as provided in the Board of Retirement Charter, the board reserves the right and authority to appoint outside legal counsel. So attached is a legal services for Mr. Burke to continue to serve as the MSARA board counsel. If you have any questions, you can direct them to Mr. Burke or myself.
All right, do we have any questions from Director Smith?
For Jeff or Doris, how does this, the compensation relate to how we've been paying you in the past, Jeff? Through the county, is it cheaper than paying through the city, or?
It's the same, and the rate actually hasn't gone up in several years, and I just kept it the same now. I think it's been in place maybe for 5 or 6 years.
And
Maybe
it's
a little
been
bit longer.
on an hourly basis?
Yes.
There's no retainer, just an hourly basis. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have any public comments on this agenda item?
There's no public comment on this item.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion? Yeah, Jerry.
I move that we execute the contract as presented with Jeff Burke for services. Does it need to have anything else in it? All right, that's the motion then.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call?
Ms. Forster,
Yes.
Ms. Cavness,
Yes.
Mr. Jurdy,
Yes.
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Cromer,
Aye.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Harris,
Aye.
approved.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that takes us to item 13, general board member discussion. Are there any items that board members just want to put out there?
Dan,
Go ahead.
remind me again, I believe, Jeff, you told us we needed to do this roll call with every motion. But things that are so obvious that we're all going to vote unanimously to support, it seems really bureaucratic to go through it each time. Couldn't it be at the discretion of the chair that all in favor and say aye, those opposed no, and if there is dissension, you sort of know that in advance, but Jeff?
So I think that requirement has come up because we are having teleconference Zoom meetings, that was an additional requirement imposed. And I believe that with that legislation, that's still in place now. So it's probably just a good practice while we're having these Zoom hybrid kind of meetings. So
Okay.
maybe that'll get relaxed one day when we get back to normal.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for the question. Director Smith?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, well, on the last two agenda items. I should have said it earlier, but one, thanks to Jeff for continuing to support the board. We really appreciate your work and your efforts. And I really do appreciate too, Doris, that you put in the information you did about the financial report and the fraud prevention. I mean, I know we have great staff, and I feel fortunate as a board member to have the staff to rely on it. And I'm glad that you recognize them when things happen. So thank you very much, and thanks to all the staff for everything you do.
Yay.
Well, thank you for those comments. If there are no other comments, then it looks like we are adjourned at 9:48.
Good.
Very good.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care. Love the rain.